Okay, everybody. It must be getting early. The clocks are running late. Happy Thursday. That's the day that is marked to celebrate the god of thunder, Thor. We call it Thursday. More about our horrible Eurocentric world. Thor's Day. Who was Thor anyways? Well, I'm wearing my red, white, and blue shirt again. I'm not going to apologize for it. I used to feel like these presidents, in fact, with their little American flag on their lapel. I mean, it was kind of redundant, right? You're the president. Why do you have to wear an American flag lapel, button on your, we know, yes. So I don't mean to be redundant. I don't have my bank of flags. It just was one of those things that got started. Excuse me. Breathe. Compose myself. Got started back this summer, and God, I'm tired. Yeah, I've had a little bit of red wine already. I've had a fine day. A really fine day, in fact. I wanted to comment a couple of things about what I learned on the bus today. Public transportation, you can learn a lot, and one of the things I learned was that this new Secretary of Defense was really scary to people, and some people are talking about maybe there's like a war with Iran brewing, or that the guy's really scary, and I didn't know about that, and I had to look it up, and I don't know, I don't find anything. Whatever, the poor guy's Secretary of Defense for 2 months. I don't even. But I guess part of the problem was that there was pushback, and Trump wanted to get a lot of troops out of Afghanistan and Iraq by the end of his term, and the Defense Department was pushing back on that, saying they didn't want to get down to 2,500 in Afghanistan, that it might be a threat. So that's what I gather from the main thing as to why this Esper was fired in the last few months, but there obviously was probably stuff going on before. Some kind of reforms of Miller is a long-time veteran of the Special Operations community. He was a Green Beret, spent much of his career. Anyways, he's a military man. He's got his connections. I don't see anything scary or horrible about that. And there's probably way more than all that. Accelerated U.S. troop withdrawal rattles Afghan allies and adversaries alike. This is the Military Times I'm looking at. It says it's an independent newspaper for military people. Fears of worsening violence and regional chaos, which can embolden the Islamic State affiliate. Anyways, under an earlier deal between the U.S. and Taliban that outlined a gradual pullout, the remaining U.S. forces were to leave Afghanistan by April. The Pentagon now says some 2,500 troops will leave by January, just days before President-elect Joe Biden's inauguration, leaving another 2,000 or so U.S. forces in place. Biden has said he prefers a small, intelligence-driven counter-terrorism presence in Afghanistan. It seems like what about 2,000 might be that. Anyways, let's not waste too much more time into stuff that obviously I don't know, and there's so many things I don't know. But here's some facts about the election. All right, currently the voting differential in Georgia, 13,000 votes separated Trump and Biden. Biden won by 13,000. Wisconsin, 20,000. Obviously this is approximate, but pretty close. Pennsylvania, 82,000. Nevada 30,000, Arizona 11,000, Minnesota, if I do the math, I guess that's 200,000 people. So, and there is evidence of fraud, but it's, or stupidity or whatever, but it's not, it doesn't seem like it's a grand conspiracy. It's just a few random fools or accidents. But Trump, you're right about mail-in, but it's time to give it up for President Trump. And for those of us who were bold enough or disheartened by the Democratic alternative, Democratic Party alternative, to vote for Trump, it's like we got to go with it. We just have to, it's time to let go. And I think to see the silver lining or see almost a victory in that 10 percentage points that the polls have said that Biden was going to win by, which wasn't anywhere near it. It was a pretty close election. The 72 million votes for Trump is now up to 74 million. He hasn't won the election, but a lot of Americans just voted for each other, voted for the country, voted for Trump. And I think there could have been a lot more, if it wasn't for the media over the last 4 years and just fear in general, as well as for President Trump and your way of doing business. You're kind of our double-edged sword, President Trump. You've done amazing in a way as the force of nature that you are, but you certainly haven't been conciliatory. Not that that's needed, but you've been also just self-defeating. And whenever there's been an element where you could build on your victories, you don't seem like you have, but more like you just shoot yourself in the foot, or just I don't know. It's just too much for a lot of us. So I think we're going to have to bear down, and there seems to be need to be a rethinking of what, quote, Republican liberty means. And the words of Washington or Lincoln in his anti-slavery sentiments, the first Republican president, and going back to principles that I would say are part of the Native American heritage, of at least if there is something to be said for that concept of everybody has to hold up their own piece of the sky, as that being a sort of the bedrock of a community, certainly in a Native American village, or if you want to build your little utopian world of the future, what would you have? But people have that notion. So that's, I think, what really the bedrock of the people, which would be the definition of what Republican it means, is about. There's just so much stuff going on here, and so many different levels. Just looking at Minnesota, and I had this story up there about gerrymandering and how Minnesota for the last 15 or 16 years has almost continually been the most consistent state voting for Democratic presidents, but then they always consistently, in 15 of the last 16 presidential elections, Minnesota voted for the Democratic nominee, first in the nation in blue performance. Question mark, this article throws the question mark in there. In 15 of the last 16 state elections, Minnesota ended up with a divided government. First in the nation in purple performance. First in the nation in blue performance when it came to presidents. I think that the people in general have a certain distrust of too much government. And that's what I see as the purple that's coming up in Minnesota. It's sort of country people. And I think they're being wise, and I think they're being, I don't know, every race is an individual race. But I'm glad that it appears that, I mean, in a way, it was the Republican in the House cast aside all these polls. The outlook of a blue tsunami didn't take place. The Republicans gained congressional seats. The House is sort of up for grabs still with the Georgia outcome. And despite the Republican candidates, who I don't think are particularly enticing or great candidates, I personally would recommend anybody in Georgia voting for them anyways and holding your nose to keep a stasis, to keep any grandiose plans. I mean, I'm particularly, just being a curmudgeon that I am with immigration, to not roll back the policies of Trump, and it won't be rolled back. You know, that there are 500,000, or maybe there's 1 million less residents in the USA than there would have been if there was a Democratic Party. And if that sounds, what's the word, misanthropic, anti-human, no, it's sort of like, goes back to 1995 and Barbara Jordan calling in a vociferous, and the word vociferous, is that the correct word? Firm, stern, saying this is too much. And we've had too much for 25 years, and that's really what I think a lot of people are rising up about. It's our sense of who we are as a people. Just too much. And for me, as a self-proclaimed tree hugger, every new apartment complex, every artificial village created in the suburbs of Washington, D.C., or the suburbs of L.A. or San Francisco is a tragedy. We just got too many people. Back in the Clinton era, Al Gore, vice president, had already written a book called Earth in the Balance when he was named his presidential candidate. What an opportunity that would have been, of back in the 1990s, to have taken a stand on behalf of the American people and the planet, and say, guess what? We're going to cut back, and big migrations in the world are not good. They're not good for the countries that the people are fleeing. Oftentimes the best people, the smartest people, are fleeing their countries, and it's like topsoil. People are like topsoil. You need topsoil. You need your best and brightest to help build a country. This is a sort of a blind spot, I think, in typical democratic, liberal, progressive / thinking. All right, what was that? Anyways, and I think that's where we're going to with my notions of a tree party. It's sort of, how do you pull this healing the planet not to be something to be done from the top down, not waiting for a $1 trillion. All right, your battery's dying. I don't know why that is. Maybe because it's unplugged. it's got to start from the grassroots. And I feel like maybe the new party is going to come along, but something needs to be forged for the year 2022. And to me, a new Republican Party, and or I give up and I just call it the Green Party. The Green Party. Yeah, the Green Party, you're there. No, the Tree Party, which would be much more founded on kind of on policies and principles that put the burden and the power on the hands of in the hands of the people to make a change, to kind of flip the world a little bit, not a little bit, but entirely. So that rather you have a top-down world, you have a bottom-up world where the individual is giving more rights. The community, every community on the planet is responsible for the planet. Every community on the planet is responsible for the planet. San Anselmo, Fairfax. What's your contribution over the last 4 years? Did you keep your carbon footprint neutral? Did you lower it? Or did it just expand? Did it expand because Sacramento told you you had to expand? What is the expansion of building another apartment complex? It's phenomenal. It's all about sustainability. It's about people and about how we can do it. And we got to do it. Anyways, that's about it. 15 minutes is enough. And I've gone over 15 minutes. So wish you all well. And hang in there. It's going to be nothing but exciting times ahead. It's going to work this out. Cheers. Bye. Bye-bye.